Hello there, my name is Lamin Njie, and we are at the office of the Mayor of the Kanifi Municipality, Mayor Talib Bensouda. We're here to speak to him exclusively on the decision there by the Ministry of Local Government and Lands in appointing Pa Omar Fall as the Alcalde of Latrikunda Yiringanya. This has been a row, a bitter battle between two people, Pa Omar and Swaibu, a row that has lasted months. The KMC was, in fact, the council that was spearheading the effort in ensuring that the problem is addressed, but the Ministry of Local Government took a decision, but in that decision they also faulted the council over the way and manner in which it went about this whole negotiation, if you like, there. So we're here today to speak to the mayor and some of the allegations that have been directed at him and his council that he tried to twist the arms of the local government ministry. Mayor, thank you for speaking to the Father Network.
Thank you, Mr. Njie.
Mayor, what do you make of the decision by the Minister of Local Government in appointing Pa Omar Fall as the new Alcalde of Latrikunda Yiringanya?
Well, first of all, I want to just clarify that as we sit, I have still not received any communique from the ministry that they have actually selected anybody for the alcalship. What we've heard are rumors and comments made on the radio by the permanent secretary of the ministry, and I think that is the essence of this interview. We just want to clarify our processes and clarify how we came about that recommendation and debunk many of the misrepresentations and falsehoods the PS has stated on the radio. Also, I would like to lament on the fact that he is a civil servant, and we expect that civil servants should be apolitical and should be lifelong workers of the government and should avoid being pinned against politicians or communities. I think that interview was probably best if it was done by the minister, who should defend his decision to pick an alkali if he feels the need to. If he doesn't feel the need to, that's fine. But I think what is wrong is, number one, you haven't sent the letter yet. You run to the radio and make comments of a letter we haven't received up to date. Two is that you run to the radio and talk about your decision, and instead of defending your decision, you want to blame another person and make another person responsible for your decision. At the end of the day, I recommend, they decide. How I come about my recommendation is my business. How they decide is their business. I can only defend how I came about my recommendation. I think simply put, they should just defend why they decided. So in the issue of Latrikunda Yiringanya, as you rightly said, is a long-standing issue. It's an issue I am not interested in, and I have never been interested in any alkali picking issues. I have made it intentional since I started here as a mayor to not interfere in any alcalship appointments. I created a mediation team headed by the Director of Compliance, and in that mediation team, the councillors and the National Assembly member of that area are co-opted into the mediation team, plus the alkali's rep here on council, which is Mr. Ibrahim Assohna of Dupakunda, and the Religious Affairs Manager, chaired by the Director of Compliance. Their number one task is how can they bring parties that are both interested in the alcalship to come to a mutual understanding and mutual agreement. Because one thing we don't want is a contentious issue such as alcalship, which is a community issue and very sensitive, turning into a bitter rivalry and preventing the community from healing afterwards. So we always try for the community to mediate between the elders. If that fails, we prescribe a system where both parties, legitimate parties, when I say legitimate, is we have to establish also that all parties have a right through lineage, and then we allow them to go back to yard owners. How we came about that process was actually through the prescription and recommendation of the ministry. So I have said before, I am an unfortunate mayor. 6 alkalis have passed away in my 2.5 years of being mayor. the Abuko Alkali, Mr. Tamba, was the first to pass away. I had no experience on how to go about the process. We asked that both contenders, Tamba's, I believe it was son, and also the Sise Kundas, who were once alkalis, to go to Semegajane Hall under the mediation committee and resolve it. Thankfully, they resolved it, and they agreed that Sise would be the alkali. When we sent the recommendation to the ministry, they had told us we have to use a yard owner system to endorse the alkaliship. We did it for Abuko. We did it in Talinding, which was Baji Kunda versus Cham Kunda. We did it in Bakau, which was Jaite Kunda versus Bujang Kunda. We did it in Serakunda, which was inherited by the Alkalo's brother, Mr. Job, and uncontested. We did it also in Bakote, which was inherited by the Alkalo's son and uncontested. So why is Latrikunda Iringanya, which has followed exactly the same process, supposed to be illegitimate or flawed? This is our question to the ministry and should be the question of the journalists.
Now, when it comes to this process, because this process is pretty new to our society, what we know in our communities, what much is known when it comes to is things like Alcalo, these are things that you inherit. So the issue of inheritance should really assume greater prominence rather than this new system of asking yard owners to, and what we have had the permanent secretary, the Minister of Local Government say is that this process is not in line with the Local Government Act, the issue of yard owners. And you are saying that in fact the idea came from the ministry. So do you think there is a problem here in terms of what is allowed by law in terms of this process?
So the law doesn't state how an alcalo should be selected or recommended by the mayor. Let me say that. The law does not state how an alcalo should be recommended by a governor, by a mayor, or a district chief. What the law states is how the alcalo is appointed. The alcalo is appointed by the minister of local government in consultation with the governor or the district CFO. In our case, KM and Banjul, wherever you see governor, it means mayor. If you go down further in the act under alcaloships, it says an alcalo is compensated by the decision of the governor or mayor. That one is explicit.
Yes.
By the decision of the governor or mayor in consultation with the minister. So in this case, I recommend. How I recommend usually should be my business. Nobody should dictate how I recommend. However, I am telling you explicitly, I am not interested in alcaloship or how they are chosen. That's why when we appoint this mediation committee, when they advise, we send our recommendation. Now, on the first instance of Abuko, they asked us to use the yard owners. And I showed you the alcalos file. You can take it, you can look at it. There are four alcaloship files here, all recommended by my office through the same process. If at all that process is flawed, I think the ministry should have written and said, oh, Mayor, this process you have chosen, it is not something we recommend. We advise that you take a different way of recommending. But like I said, for 5 alcaloships, this process was not contested by the ministry. They appointed all 5 alcalos I recommended using the same process. Why is Latrikunda Yiringanya different and special? I think that is something journalists should go and challenge the ministry. Now, I expect, just like I am doing now, I am justifying how I have come about with my recommendation. The minister should also justify how he came up with his decision. I am not saying his decision is good. I am not saying his decision is bad. All I'm doing here is explaining the process in clear terms without misrepresenting any facts. This alcaloship is the first alcaloship I receive calls from the ministry inquiring about who should be alkali. In the other 5, I had no communication. But in this one, like I say to all people who call me about alcaloships, keep me out of it. I am not interested. This should be the decision of the community. All the mayor does, and I believe that's what a mayor should do, is to make sure any party who claims the alcaloship has a direct line to the alcaloship. That's one. Secondly, Any party that claims the alcalship is actually endorsed by the community so that he can be a leader. You cannot be a leader of people who don't want you to lead them. And also that harmony will prevail in the community. These are my primary interests. That's why I follow this process. And I could have, just to clarify, I could have just single-handedly picked an alkali and recommended to the minister without a process. Because the law does not say a process. The reason we go through this painstaking process is to make sure that peace and harmony prevail in the community. Now, if two people claim an alcalship, one's father was an alkali before, the other's father was the alkali who passed away, who am I, Mayor Bensouda, to say this man has a more legitimate claim, that man has a more legitimate claim? And remember, we are in a democratic society. We cannot force the hand of people. That's why we call people to a dialogue. You said your father was an alkali. This man's father was the alkali who just passed away. Yes. Can you have a dialogue? In the case of Abuko, the dialogue succeeded. Like I said, Tambakunda left it for Sisikunda. Talinding, dialogue succeeded. Chamkunda left it for Bajikunda. In Bakau, it did not succeed. Jaita Kunda decided to go take Bojankunda to court, or the ministry to court, after we had recommended Bojankunda based on the same process. And I just given you a letter. The ministry responded to Sroa Wawa Jaite's letter, where he petitioned the appointment of the Alcalo of Bakau. And in this ministry's claim, it says, the power to appoint an Alcalo is vested on the Minister of Lands and Regional Government, as stated in the Local Government Act 2002, Section 142, 1 and 2. It is therefore important to note that the above provisions of the Act are specific, thus unambiguous as to the appointing authority for the position of an Alcalo. It further states, in line with the above legal provision, this office wishes to inform you that the appointment of the Alcalo of Bakau has been effected by the Honorary Minister in consultation with the Office of the Lord Mayor of Kanifi Municipal Council, who provided supporting list of yard owners from Bakau. This is the ministry, signed by Fatou Jiba, 4 Permanent Secretary, letterhead Ministry of Lands and Local Government. They, 1, acknowledge that they should consult me. 2, they acknowledge the yard owners. So if the same ministry goes on to the radio and say the yard owners process is flawed and illegitimate, then they're contradicting themselves.
So why do you think this flip-flop then? Because in your statement, what you clearly said, there are 2 things that you look at. The issue of the traditional line of inheritance, as well as the issue of community endorsement, if you like, acceptance.
Exactly.
If these are the 2 things, but in your case, it would appear you gave greater prominence to the issue of community acceptance, and that is what the ministry is accusing you of. The ministry is saying, you went and you ignored, if you like, the issue of traditional line of inheritance, and then you just simply went ahead and asking the candidates to go and collect signatures.
I just said it in Wolof. If you make a decision, don't far day, or apologize for the decision. But you cannot hold third parties accountable for your decision. How I recommend should not be the issue for the ministry. If the ministry feels my recommendation is not good, let them decide. I recommend. That's the word, recommend. Damla helal, lugin. And they also forget ni lenen mo gin. Yo ku am dole ki defal lan nga fogne mo gin nga defend lutax nga fogne mo gin. Wonde bul wax ne def na li wonde folti kale la. Yo ya def. Man dam la helal do muna criticize ku la helal lolu amul fen. So the issue mo neka based on my principles. Tay you cannot say or contest pour sa aleli papa su fekke ne yow do domi sa papa. That's the reason we say they have to have lineage. Yo do muna claim dara lu nga xamne do ko muna dona o nekulo the same lineage. So su fekke ne sa papa musna nek alkali, yo am nga dereti alkali ya. Whether mom mo nekon alkali bu just pass away or muson na nek alkali, you have the right. We never said Pa Omar doesn't have a right. We never said Swaibu doesn't have a right. We say both have claim. So once we establish they both have claim, meaning the leg they can be on the point of competing for the position. That is the first principle. Because mënuñoo indi ku amul claim muy contest ak ku am claim. So su fekkee ne kenn nit rek moo am claim, then duñ invite keneen. Wante we establish first who has claim. So Pa Omar Fall's father, according to the mediation team, was an alkali. We are not denying that. Sohaibu Fall's father was just the alkali who passed away. So both have claim. Now what's the next step? We bring them together and say, Mane, what time len sen digante? Lu gën moy kenn baye ko moromam. Da nga gis ne community bi dafa ñëw together mu embrace ko. Koku tam dafa yomba pour mu def liggéeyam. It will be easy for that person to do their job because now he has the legitimacy and the endorsement of the entire community. When su fekkee ne kii bañ na kale bañ na, they both refuse. What is the next step? I will not force myself onto anybody. That's my principle. Other mayors in the past, some of them did that. Some of them did this tedious process. They don't go through it. They just point a finger, I'm going to endorse this man. And it would be their right because the act doesn't say what process you should use. You use a judgment. Then man, based on my judgment, and like I said, the only thing I am very sad about is when the ministry said, use this format, that we did not ask them to put it in writing. Because I am a file guy, clearly. I like my files. Because for days like this, you clarify. Right. So, whether they prescribe it or not, if I use it, I accept responsibility. Because they could have asked me to use it, no, man me recommend it, definitely send it. But I accepted their recommendation because I thought it was good. So, whoever can bring more yard owners, fine. We will forward that person. In the case of Bakau, Bojankunda brought 1,600 yard owners, if I can recollect properly. The other one, Jajakunda, brought less yard owners. We forwarded the issue to the ministry. They endorsed it and we appoint Mr. Bojang as the alkali of Bakau. Surah Jaite went to court and said Bojang used tenants instead of yard owners. And they wrote to the ministry petitioning, which is this letter. The ministry replied and said, no, even if you petition, the minister has the right to appoint an alkali even without the yard owners. But in your case, the yard owners and both the mayor and the yard owners have endorsed Bojang. So we are sticking to our decision. So why today everything looks funny? Because maybe they think the media, I don't have documents. I have documents. I keep all my files. You can see I'm organized.
Now, one of the things also that the ministry said has to do with the process of first you invited both parties to the council to hold meetings with them to find a dialogue and see ways of solving this issue. But what Mojis was clear was that the other party was a little indifferent to whatever meeting that the council mediation team was spearheading between the two parties. And really that caused the council a lot of problems. What can you tell us about that process?
Like I said, if Pa Omar is the alkali, great, let's work. If Swaibu is the alkali, great, let's work. Let the minister write his letter, let us move on with it. All I can defend is the process I took to pick the alkali. I do not know them personally. I had no personal meetings with any of them to decide on my alkaliship. The mediation committee has complained that one of them was not very cooperative. Now, I don't want to fault anybody here because my decision was not based on their behavior. My decision was based on the facts that were brought on my table. And what was brought on my table was one contestant bringing his yard owners. The other one did not bring his. When I asked, they said he refused to take it. I cannot force any party to do things against their will. I can only accept the facts that are presented in front of me and use my judgment and make my recommendation. That's all I'm saying. Who becomes alkali is not my interest. I have no vested interest. I'm not a community member of Latrikunda. And like I said, I'm a politician and I want to win and I want to have political advantage. But alkalosip, I have zero interest in doing politics in alkalosip. One, in the law says alkalo should be apolitical. Two, this is a community matter. We have seen community matters go out of hand and become dangerous. So I do not play any politics with alkalosip. That's why In the mediation committee, I fixed those mediation committees. Every mediation committee must be headed by a civil servant, which is the director of compliance. The religious affairs and culture manager should be a member. The Alcalo's rep, who understands and represents Alcalo issues, must be a member, meaning the councillor representing Alcalos. The councillors of the area, regardless of what political party you are, must be members. The MP, regardless of what political party you are, must be members. They mediate. And they try to bring the mind. They don't decide, they mediate. And at the end, the last process is, if they cannot come to a compromise, go with your form, go with your form. Whoever has more endorsements from the community, we will forward that recommendation to the ministry. End of story. The ministry now, they should have written their letter and say, Mayor Bensouda, contrary to your recommendation, we have decided to appoint the Alcalo of Latrikunda to be so, so, and so. I will take that letter, instruct, I don't write directly. I will instruct somebody to write on my behalf, forward the decision of the ministry to this party, invite them to a meeting. This is where we sit. I hold his stamp, because I am the custodian of the stamp, and I tell them this is how we think you should work with council. One, you are a member, ex officio member of the WDC, which is the Ward Development Committee. Two, we expect you to spearhead collection of property rates and to support the process, because we have decided that this is how we will pay and compensate alkalis, which is a percentage of commissions to encourage their involvement in the rates on collection. Mm-hmm. And you should be a person of high integrity, always be apolitical, always look at community interests and promote peace and stability within your community. I give them, they go. Whenever we have issues, we invite them. When it was sharing rice, we invite them. Tandarma, we invite them. When we have projects we want to do in communities, we invite them. When we have initiatives we want to do, we invite them. We like to move with our alkalis because it gives us that also legitimacy, which is apolitical. So this is what I am saying. Now the ministry, if they decide otherwise, they cannot blame a third party for their decision. Dafa many things nga ne ma Talib suma doom ban school la wara dem mané la man suma gis-gis na dem Ndaws de because ñooñu seen A level ba génn léegi nga ne non man duma jël sa recommandé man Marina la moo dem léegi nit ñi mere la sa jabar mere la nga ne xam nga Talib bu mu doon waye fi Ndaws waxuma li waxuma la le déedéet. Oh yeah, decide. Why are you blaming Talib?
Now let's talk about the two files. The younger file insisted that he is in no way related to the older file. And what much we know when it comes to inheritance, it lies in blood. The other file, that's the younger one, is claiming that he shares no blood relations with the older file, meaning the older file, what he is suggesting is that the older file is not entitled to inherit the Alcalo role in Latrikunda. What did the council know in that regard?
So like I said, I am not an ancestry scientist. I do not have DNA samples. We do not do DNA tests. Maybe we should have, but that is not our job to see whose blood is connected with whose blood. You understand? What we do, we invite the elders of the community. Everybody bring 5 elders to the mediation. So what, based on the report I got, one brought 5 elders, the other brought 5 elders. One's 5 elders are saying they are related. The other one's 5 elders are saying they are not related.
So there was clearly a standoff.
There was a standoff.
Then did the council try to find out?
So with the case of Talinding, we started doing research. But this lineage thing goes back. And there is no record in terms of alcaloships in their communities. There's no record here. So the onus is on the participant to bring those records. But when the elders come, including our alcalos rep, they say, look, Pa Omar Fal's father was once an alkali. Soabu's father was the alkali who just passed away. In the case of Abuko, the boy Tamba, his father was the alkali. But the Sise Kundas once held the alkaliship. But still, the Tamba Kundas agreed we will let go and give it to the Sises. But Baji Kunda, they said no, it has to stay in Baji Kunda. And eventually Cham Kunda said, that is Talinding. Cham Kunda said, okay, we will let it stay within the Baji Kunda. It's the same situation here. It's no different. So that one's father was one alkali. This one's father is the alkali who just passed away. But if this one said they're not going to let go, that one says they're not going to let go, but the mediation team say they both have claim, then the final result is go back to your communities.
Now, that going back to your community,
Yeah.
that is where the issue of yard owners come. But
Yes.
the ministry faulted your council, saying what it suggested is that it was marred by fraud, the issue of having tenants to
So
sign.
why didn't they write?
To sign. That is
Why
what the
didn't
council
they
is, the ministry is
So
accusing
today,
your council.
if I send you my recommendation, 1, you can take the recommendation. 2, you can decline the recommendation. 3, you can ask for more information. The ministry asked for more information, but they did not say the thing was flawed, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they said the tenant signed up to the.
No, what
to
I'm
the,
saying
to the,
is, if I send you a letter,
yes.
you respond to that letter. You should tell me in that letter what you think I should do.
They didn't say that there, but on the radio,
So they should say,
they said
why
it on
would
the
they say it
radio.
on the radio?
Well, they said it in the media.
Yeah, so like I say,
what do you have to respond
you cannot
to that?
decide. It's false and fabricated. You cannot make your decision and say, "Wante dang ma warona johli." Like I said, I am not here to fault the ministry for their decision or to say their decision is good, their decision is bad. I am indifferent and uninterested. The reason I am even having this conversation, which I have already said, I feel is a colossal waste of council time, because I should be spending my time on development efforts, is to clarify and to safeguard the integrity of the process. All we do is advise. Like I said, I will just pinpoint somebody in the community and say, "Man, you recommend alkali." That person should not even have lineage. I can just send it, and the minister can say no or yes. So maluma wafi moye, you also defends a decision as a ministry, and it's in this case it's not even the ministry. It says the minister as an individual. I think the minister should come out and say, "Mandama choose key because key moy legitimate holder bi, key moy ni jeluma mayor decision am, man li moy suma decision." Finish. And they should wait until the decision is actually officialized. Ñun tay ñi ngi fi. You went to the radio on Friday. Saturday we don't receive nothing. Sunday is not receiving nothing. Granted, they are not working days. Monday romban. Tay Tuesday. Ñun ba legi amuñ letter. Is that professional?
The other issue that the ministry faulted you and your council has to do with you refusing to turn in whatever correspondence or letters that must have.
And I accept.
Why didn't you give them those letters? Because
from Abuko all the way to Latrikunda, 6 alkalis, I have never accepted unilateral letters. Tay man duma santa nit ñi nañ mediate ma allow ñeneen ñi di leen gannaaw di ma binda. Because if I accept any of these letters, I have always sent it. Don't sell me letters. Whatever claim you have, send it to the mediation team. I am going by the advice of the mediation team. Tomorrow, I don't want to be accused of favoring this individual over that individual. Mayor Togna Pa Omar wala mayor Togna Swaibu. Mayor sa dafa accept on letter Swaibu. Move forward ko dafa accept. No. Your legitimate, your forum to show the elders' will, your forum to show your right is in the mediation team, not the mayor's office. I am an individual. This is an institution with systems and structures. If the mediation team accept all your information, they forward it to me, then we forward it. But unilateral letter, may I say backway letter, I don't accept it. And I'm not saying one person did it, everybody did it. Both parties send me letters behind the scenes.
Where are those letters?
I discard them.
Why
because I don't accept them.
Why didn't you give them to the
That's what I said. I don't encourage them. That letter has nothing to do with my office. Go to the mediation and agree there. I have zero interest who becomes alkali. And let me tell you, when these alkali things come up, I receive thousands of calls. Well, thousands is an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. Yes. A lot of calls. Sometimes they reach out to your relatives. Sometimes they reach out to your wife. Mane, I tell all my relatives, if you are calling me about an alkali, I'll put down the phone. My judgment will be made by the results of the mediation team. But I don't want anybody to call me backdoor telling me I should pick an alkali over another one. I will only recommend what the mediation team legitimately states.
In your recommendation, the ministry said you tried to twist its arm, meaning you tried to force them to accept Swaibu as...
Did they tell you how I tried to twist their arm? Well, did I go to the ministry and hold his arm?
That's what the permanent secretary said.
Tell him how
he said you were trying to direct him to a particular line, his own words.
I think you should tell him to show you the video of when I'm twisting his arm.
What did you do?
I don't know. You ask him. He said I twisted his arm. He should show you the video.
Meaning, that is just ironical. Meaning, it's just,
then let me show you the evidence where I twist his arm. Is it a drawing on paper where I twist his arm? Let him show you. Tell him the mayor twists my arm this way, or he threatened me, or he did this. You send me a letter. I tell you, this is my response. Where's the twisting of arm? And look, I think we are at this stage in Gambia where we should not take people's words. And I really love the new journalism and Lamin Njie, you are brave, you go out, you tell stories. But always tell them, mane, ana lekari. Because then it becomes and let me tell you, in this whole interaction, I have never ever communicated with any civil servant, whether the PS or about alkali matters. The alkali, the act only says minister, mayor, governor, SEFO. These are community issues for elected officials or politically appointed officials or traditional officials. It's not for civil servants. He should not be the one. I don't know what's happening in their ministry.
No, but clearly,
he's being pushed to
comment on this. The local government ministry, the ministry would never talk.
Because they say the minister, why not? The minister is the political appointment.
Yes, he's the political appointment, but what at least since he became minister of local government, what we have seen, if there is any issue, it is the permanent secretary who takes care of it. He would never come to the media. Now let's talk about the issue of politics in all this. You are an opposition politician. And you have a government.
I was elected as a
well, yes, you are, but at least you belong to an opposition political party. You have that, and you have a government.
We're in power. I mean, I'm a mayor.
No, well, at least at the local government level. Yes. But when it comes to the national or the state level, you are opposition. But you are opposition.
Okay, I accept.
You accept now. So now, what do you make of the role of politics in this? Because there are claims, however preposterous, that the person that was picked by the ministry is NPP. And there are other claims that the person that you are recommending is the best for you in terms of your chances as an opposition.
Oh, so they're not saying he's UDP, they say he's the best.
He's the best in terms of, because at least
but they did not say he's UDP.
At least he has that crowd. At least he has that crowd, and you need that.
Yeah.
What do you make of the role of politics in all of this?
Look, until I see on paper that the minister wrote, I have chosen Pa Omar Fall because he's NPP, or I hear him say it on record, or I witness it, I cannot speak on that matter. I will never sit here and claim that the minister did his decision based on politics. I do not have evidence. Maybe that's something you should investigate.
And those claims are being pushed by the other side that you recommended.
No, well,
they are the ones saying that Pa Omar was going about
and
bragging.
I did not recommend Pa Omar one.
No, you recommended Swaibu.
Sorry, I did not recommend.
At least according to your...
I did not recommend Swaibu because of his politics. I don't know his politics. Yes. I did not recommend him because I know him. He's my friend. I don't think I've ever sat with Swaibu or met him. I don't think I've ever touched Swaibu or even looked at Swaibu's eyes. I don't know Swaibu. So like I said, I will not say Swaibu is the one you should ask. Maybe he has evidence that is political. So tell him to show you the evidence. But I cannot sit here and claim that this was because of politics. All I can say...
Are you concerned at all about that, the issue? Even if I should ask Swaibu that, if Swaibu is the right person to ask that. But do you think you feel any concern?
I cannot be
that you have this group of people who want you to be on their side. At the end of the day, I
cannot be concerned if I don't have facts. You understand what I'm saying? I do this job. When I was standing here and swearing in as a mayor, I said I will serve the best interests of the municipality without fear or favor. Everybody knows my brand of politics, and everybody knows in this KM, we do not push partisan matters above political matters. And we will never push partisan matters above community matters. We walk, and we believe that our walk will bring us support. We are truthful, as far as I know, and we believe our honesty will bring us support. That is our brand of politics. We are really here to serve. But one thing I will never take is my integrity. Everybody knows me. I never take an interview unless somebody has challenged my integrity. But if it was frivolous talk, they could have gone and said, we've made our decision, this, that, without even mentioning me. But once you start mentioning me and you start misrepresenting the facts and you start creating conspiracy theories, I will bring out the facts. And the facts are now all in front of you. So whether Swaibu believes that it was political, well, let him prove it. And if that came to my attention and Swaibu came and said, Mayor, here's the evidence that this was political, then my reaction will be different. Because you will not bring politics into our communities and in our sacred institutions. Alcaloships are apolitical. You should not pick an alkali based on his political leanings, but based on his lineage. Many people have come to me and said, Mayor, how can you allow for this alkali to be picked? And you know this alcalo is not our party. I said, so what? It is not an alkali's, my duty to ascertain where an alkali's political leanings is. But it is my responsibility. When I see an alkali doing politics, I will summons you and say, Mr. Alkali, I think the way you're moving is wrong. And you're going against the constitution of the Gambia. So like I said, I did not call an interview because I said, this one is right, that one is wrong. All I'm saying is we are here to defend the integrity of our process and to debunk the misrepresentations said on the radio.
Now, those who signed the forms, and the ministry is saying some of them are tenants, did you do any independent investigation in terms of that to find out whether really there are people who fraudulently signed when they don't have a house in?
So that is the ministry's claim. I think the ministry, since they have evidence, because when they told you some of them are tenants, I presume they have the evidence. I think they should give you the evidence. It's not my responsibility because I did not find tenants or I did not conduct any investigation about tenants. But since they have conducted an investigation about tenants, I think they should hand the evidence to the media and say, look at our investigation. All I know is one party presented forms, the other party declined forms. I can only act on facts in front of me.
Now, in terms of this issue, what would you like to see? Since you have recommended, government has trashed that clearly, and they've decided to appoint the other person. What would you like to see now?
I think the first thing is I want to speak to the community. We never condone violence. We never condone acts outside the constitution of the Gambia. I think this is there's processes for petitions. There's processes for protest. There's processes to challenge government decisions. And they should just do what they think is in the best interest of their side by going through the constitution of the Gambia. Now, more than that, I want to see peace, stability, and harmony within the community of Larsekunda Yerenganya. And this is why we follow this painstaking process. Because our ultimate goal is not really who is Alkali. Our ultimate goal is that we want harmony, peace and development within our communities. That's why we take this painstaking process. But we must respect the law and the Local Government Act that gives the power of the minister to appoint. The minister has consulted me. He has. I have given my recommendation. Whether he accepts it or not, it's within his right. It's within his mandate. So all I'm saying to our ministry is, one, the local government authorities, the mayor, the councillors, the staff, we do not have ulterior motives from the ministry as far as peace is concerned, development is concerned. We do not have ulterior motives. And what we want the ministry to do in the future, if they have sent us letters, I think they should let the letters land before they preempt and jump to the media. That is what's creating all this controversy. Let them bring the letter. Wait for the council to also act on that letter. Wait for the community reaction to that letter. And then you can come out and justify your decision. But do not blame me for your decision. You cannot blame other people for the upbringing of your sons. So all I'm saying is, moving forward, we have come out because clearly their intent on tarnishing us via the community, that it is our fault, the process went this way. So we have had these interviews, one, clarify that our process is impartial, apolitical, and we've done it more than 5 times. It is based on precedents, without any inclination from the ministry that it was not a good process. 2, we have done it because of the facts that were presented in front of us. This is our recommendation.
And Mayor, it's coming to 4 years since you became mayor of this. 3 years now. Okay. Since you became mayor of this municipality. This is the first time, at least, that you are running into such problem.
Yes.
Since you
2 years, 8 months.
2 years, 8 months, and you are running into this problem. How do you feel about it?
I dislike it very much. Everybody knows me. I hate
fighting.
No, look, I can fight for things that are important, things that have an impact. You know, alkalosip is important. All I'm saying is, I am here for development. So I can fight for development. If I feel that my development is being retarded by people with ulterior motives, I will fight. If I feel that the council is trying to develop and people are trying to sabotage that development, I will fight. That's a negative type of fight. But there's a positive type of fight, which I do every day. I come in every day fighting for things to move. You know, and we really want you guys to really follow us. Our general councils, they are open forum for the media to cover. Yesterday we had one. You will see us fighting in the positive way. We want the directors to work. Our communities are suffering, that and that and that and that. And we want, when our new hall is created, Fatu Network and all other networks and all other medias to come have stalls where they can just mount their cameras and cover council deliberations. So you see your politicians acting. We are not afraid of people seeing. I always say, they always tell me, hey, Mayor, lock your drawer, this is that. I said, these are public files. It's not my house. When I leave this office, these files will stay. So we want people to cover us. We want the council to be transparent. We want to fight for the good things and the right reasons. This one is sort of defense. It's not even fighting for something. It's just defending the integrity of the council and assuring the community of Latrikunda. We have never sat here and strategized how to illegally place an alcalo or to put in something that is illegitimate. This has taken 8 months. It could have taken 1 day. And it's all in the best interest of that community. So like you said, 2 years, 8 months. This is the first time I've had this type of incident, only because it has been mismanaged by the ministry. But we think after this, we hope that they will avoid such confrontations, which are very unnecessary.
Mayor, I'll try to squeeze in at least 2 questions on different subjects. You just talked about your new office. It is coming along pretty well. Your building is coming out. How much money are you putting into this building?
So this building was part of other projects, Gumworks projects, which was total about $100 million. Bundung Maternity Hospital is part of it. About Kuloli Tavan Road was part of it. I think Latrikunda Willingara Road was part of it. So this project actually was conceived before we came into office. So it started under the previous regime. However, when we came into office, there was no money put towards the project when we were coming into office because there's a counterpart contribution of 10%. So that 10%, we paid it off within 3 months of coming into office. We were the first council to pay off. So as you know, same projects were lined up for BCC and West Coast, Birkama Area Council.
Yes. Yeah. You are the National Organizing Secretary of United Democratic Party. Wow. Their Congress, December Congress went well. I spoke with people, interacted with people, and said Talib did a very good job. The mayor did a very good job as National Organizing Secretary. In terms of UDP, we are in election year. It's going to be a very, very important year. Your party will be right there as everything unravels. What do you see in terms of your party?
Yeah, so the National Congress, actually, I organized before I became National Organizing Secretary. I became National Organizing Secretary
At the Congress.
in the Congress. But I hosted the Congress. I was the chairman of the organizing committee. It was my initiative that to convince the party to host it in KMC, and I will be in the lead. So I really enjoyed it. And I, like you said, thank you for saying it was organized. We the ones inside see so many things going wrong, but I think for the most part, it was well received. It could always have been better and bigger, but that's for another time. But in terms of 2021, I think just like I announced at the Congress, we think this will be a year where UDP showcases an election machinery they have never showcased. And we think our chances are great of recapturing the state and ensuring that we bring development to the grassroots and development to the people of the Gambia. It will be a contentious election. I don't think anybody is disillusioned by that. It would be an election for the times, just because I think in the longest time that we can remember, I don't think there'll be this free of an election. Now, fair is always decided after the election, but in terms of freedom of the press and freedom of people to advocate for their party, I think it's going to be an unprecedented election, and I think we should try to enjoy the election. Elections actually should be enjoyable, meaning we should hear diverse views. We should hear people advocating for something different and something new, or advocating for more of the same, whatever it is. But it should be diverse voices, and citizens should enjoy the process. Never allow yourself, I always say, to be used in the sense of advocating for violence and things contrary to the advancement of this country, just because one person is trying to be in power or one person is trying to stay in power. So I always say in all my interviews, I always say, above all, we are Gambians. No matter what political party you feel like you belong to or you support, the more important thing than your political party is your citizenship, which is Gambia. Without Gambia, what's the need for political parties? I think the reason we are in political parties is to develop the Gambia. So what is above your political party is being a Gambian national. And if you are a Gambian national, another person is a Gambian national, I think you should love him more for his Gambianness than his political affiliation. So at the end of the elections, remember, we all have to live together. Just the other day I was at my house. One person comes with a Barrow shirt, the other person comes with a Yaya Jammeh shirt, and they are crossing, and I am UDP, I am in between. Yes. And I'm like, look, this is so interesting. Yes. And they are greeting each other, and that's beautiful. And they greeted me, hey, Mayor, this one is in a NPP t-shirt, that one is in a APRC t-shirt. This is the point, you know. If I could convince them to come on board, I will try. If they can convince me, they will try. But at the end of the day, let's respect each other. And that is all that matters.
Your party will find NPP right in front of it.
Behind.
Right in front of it at the election.
Behind. NPP will be right behind.
Right in front, in terms of, challenging, competing for who is going to win.
Yes.
Do you feel intimidated at all?
I don't. So, you know, my mother once asked me when I was running for mayor, Talib, what if you lose? I said, then I lose. You can either win or lose. There's only two sides to the coin. You win, you win. Yes. You lose, you lose. So I never enter politics afraid. You know, I enter politics knowing that there's a chance you can win, there's a chance you can lose. You do everything you can to win.
And that is what your party is doing.
You do everything you can in an honest way. In an honest way and in a way that you know is best for the country. Dishonest politics is something I've never encouraged. And no matter who you are, you can never push me into that. I always said in my campaign, either I do my best in an honest way or I leave. You know, life, you can't just force to do something or be something. You ask and it's given. If it's not given, you continue to do something else.
Mayor, I've heard these reports that your grounds, the KMC grounds, was used by some people to register people by cards. Yeah,
so
they will just take your number and then that's it. They tell you and your name and then.
Well,
what is that all about?
This is a Rafela initiative. As you know the mayor of Banjul is the president of Rafela. And one of the initiatives they came up with is to empower women. And how do they empower women is to make them active citizenships and be participating as citizens. What is the number one document you need to be an active citizen? And that's an ID card. So this ID card is not about voting. It's not about one thing or the other thing. It's about all things. Voting is one of them, for women to have voices in election. But with many services, to have access to many places, you need a national ID card, even to travel. So it is to empower women, but we're in a political season. Many people say, okay, it's just so women can support them. Well, that's your opinion. But from the way I have been told by Rafela and the way I accepted it, and it was not me accepting it unilaterally, I invited Rafela representatives to the council. I invited them, APRC councillors are there, DOE councillors are there, and unanimously we voted and endorsed that Rafela can sit within our council and issue ID cards to women. Now, in terms of complaints, I think the Rafela office is in Banjul.
What do you make of the delay in voter registration?
I think it's not good. I think we should avoid things like this by all means. We should avoid any things that can make people believe the election is being tampered with. The reasons may be legitimate. I think the journalist is your duty to find out. We are only hearing in the news what you are reporting. I think I first saw it on the Fatu network. But what we really are appealing at the IEC is they're holding a very sensitive office. And their processes, they should be careful not to keep changing them. They should be careful not to give anybody doubt. Because even 0.01% doubt in this election can taint it. So the Independent Electoral Commission, as it is stated, should make sure that their processes are set in stone. They're only in action for certain periods in the year, and they should do it perfectly. They have zero margin of error. So I don't know what's the holdup. I hear it's procurement issues. I have started asking, and sometimes I hear not too good news. I cannot state things I cannot verify. As organizing secretary, I'll dig deeper into the matter. But I think they should try and make sure a legitimate company with the capacity has this contract to execute it impartially. That is my advice to them, and I hope they will take it.
And also the new constitution ran into trouble. Yeah. Are you disappointed at all?
I'm very disappointed.
Why are you disappointed?
I mean, how can I describe it? It's like the whole essence. I think this change we have voted for. We all voted for this change. We all voted for Barrow as the head of the coalition. His Excellency President Adama Barrow as head of the coalition to bring in about a more democratic Gambia. And the most sacred and fundamental document, the foundation of democracy, is your constitution. And one of the reasons we brought in this change is to bring a constitution that respects democratic principles, rule of law, and human rights. And the parliament appoints a Constitutional Review Commission. They tour the country. We are all part of this process. I had a session with them at Westfield. It was so much chatter, so much excitement. And this would have cemented this change. And this document is a legacy for the president and the House of Representatives, the National Assembly. They should treat this, because we must always look at our lives as a politician after we are gone, not while we are in power. Life is very short, and everything you hold dear now will be irrelevant after you are gone. All this big man, mayor. When you're out of office, you're just another guy.
That's the end of it.
But what people will remember is what you did while you're in office. While I'm sitting here, they say, oh, this former mayor was the one who did this. This former mayor, that's their legacy. Yes. And the Constitution, that one I think we will remember for maybe more than a century. That in the time when Adam Barrow came, or in the time when National Assembly member Soso came, we had a sacred document that brought stability, democracy, peace, rule of law, and development to the Gambia.
But at least he doesn't want it. He felt that he's been cheated by a particular section.
Like I said, let us not think short term. If I were to advise him, I know maybe I will not be appointed advisor, but yes, if I had that access, I will say, look at this document after you're gone. Don't look at it while you're in seat.
And also, how is your advisor life going on? The Talib Dr. Cisse advisor life. How is that?
You love controversy.
How is that panning out?
Dr. Cisse is, I mean, he has become a friend, I would say. I wouldn't say it's a friend we call, but I mean, it's jovial when we meet each other. We met at a football match 2 months ago, and he was like, you, I was like, you know. So at that time, I was not aware that he was about to launch his party. Yes. Because we don't require advisors to be members of our party, but we would require that you be apolitical. Yes. Right. So I did not get disclosure at the time that this was his intent, and I did not ask. My fault, maybe, because I did hear rumors, to be honest, but I never asked. Maybe also he could have disclosed, but I think that sort of made it very difficult to be able to bring him on board. I looked at his CV as a political scientist or a political professor, and that's the basis in which I wanted to bring him board to volunteer and just be part of the process. I love working with young guys. I love working with young guys. I saw him as a young guy with potential, probably great ideas, and I wanted to bring him on board. But that, of course, was frustrated when he declared that now he's the head of the Citizens Alliance. All power to him, best of luck to him. But this is what has frustrated.
And you have sacked him?
I never sacked him, but I didn't use him.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe when he resigns as a candidate, I will bring him back.
You'll bring him back on board. Yeah. Well, yes, one more thing. The government is saying the economic needs to stay. As a citizen, of course, you must have had,
what needs to stay?
Your economic. They need to stay for an addition 1 year, and then there will be this police mission after.
I think these are all not good ideas. I think one of the number one reasons they call you a country is you need to safeguard your sovereignty. Now, safeguarding your sovereignty doesn't mean that you don't have partners. It doesn't mean that you don't have relationships. If you look at America and England, they call themselves the special relationship. And I think we have a family relationship with ECOWAS, but we have a special relationship with Senegal. Senegal is dear to us. We love Senegal, and they love us back. And this is why they intervened when things were going bad. Gambia's stability is Senegal's stability. Senegal's stability is Gambia's stability. Our people are intertwined, cultures are intertwined, economies are intertwined, but we must never confuse our family relations to sovereignty. Sovereignty is what makes you a country. And at the minimum, you have to maintain your security. I am not especially particular, even with the defense forces, but internal security, I don't think that should be outsourced. Internal security should be Gambians. I think Gambians appreciate that their fellow Gambians are the ones who will be enforcing the law. I don't think anybody wants foreigners to enforce our constitution on us. I don't think that is acceptable in any country. And I don't know if the decision has been finalized, but I think it should be reversed. And with ECOMIG, I think we thank them for their service. We are very grateful for all that they've done for us. But I think it's a time that the government takes security sector reform seriously and give a timeline and a path out for ECOMIG. We cannot indefinitely extend the stay. I'm sure it's expensive for them, it's expensive for us, and we need to invest in our own security. Now, that doesn't mean we shouldn't have bilateral relationships with Senegal in terms of security. We shouldn't have security alliances and agreements. We can have all those things. And that doesn't mean that Senegal and Gambia shouldn't, I believe we should even remove the border between us. So there's free movement of people and there's free movement of goods. Just like the EU. But in terms of our security, especially policing, I think that is our sovereignty and it must be safeguarded.
And also, your ministry started your council meetings, and I was made to understand that you posted greater revenue generation.
You mean I started council meetings?
Well,
you said ministry.
Did I say, okay, you started council meetings, and some of it's been impressive in terms of the revenue that your council has been.
It's impressive,
generated.
but it's difficult. So council, I've always said this, and I know people I often see online say, "Oh, Mayor, you said 1 billion during your campaign." I said the potential of the KMC to generate revenue can reach 1 billion. I've never deviated from that belief. In 2.5 years, we have jumped the revenue 100%. And this was just some restructuring, just stuffing some holes and preventing leakages. This is just being more vigilant on corruption. And I'm not saying we got any of those things perfect. The council is not fully restructured. We still don't have the best capacity that we would like. We still have not plugged all the holes. We still have not done all that we need to do to make sure the revenue is safeguarded. However, if we invest, and we are planning to, in digital revenue collection, if we invest in the addressing of the municipality, we believe and also property valuation, we believe the revenue would also double or maybe triple. So in 2.5 years, what this is just proof that what I was saying was not a fantasy. In 2.5 years, when we came into the council in 2017, the revenue was 112 million. In 2018, when we started in May, halfway, we pushed it to 148. In 2019, we pushed it to 180. In 2020, we pushed it to 221 million. So in 2.5 years, this is 100% increase. This year we have budgeted 280 million, and my goal is to get it to 300 million. But we know it's going to be a challenge because of COVID. The economy is facing a lot of challenges, and there's been a global decline. But before I leave, well, meaning my term ends in 2022, we would love for our revenue to get to 400 or close to 500 million. So whatever mayor takes over, or even if I continue, we know there's a big pool of resources you can take to develop the municipality, as our youth and our women really are hungry for. They want this municipality to be a sample. Good roads, good schools, healthcare. You want it to be vibrant, good opportunity for the youths, you know. So every Gambian wants to have a vibrant city. We still don't yet have a vibrant city where there's ample job opportunities, business is thriving, a lot of leisure activities, you know, parks are working and people are enjoying themselves. This is our desire, but you cannot do it without money, and this is why we are pushing for more revenue.
Mayor, you are a political leader.
Yeah.
The APRC, opposition APRC, want their dear leader, Jammeh, to come back. It's election year, and there are calls for the former leader to return to the country. As a political leader, what do you have to say about their calls for Jammeh to come back?
Well, I've never really had this discussion, and I don't think it's possible, given that there's a lot of criminal allegations against him. But I think probably it's better for the government to answer that, since they're in power. But I just think with the revelations we see in the TRRC, probably it's better to wait until all the investigations are done before comments can be made on that. But generally, I don't think it's a great idea. It's a great idea.
And finally, Mayor, where does things stand regarding our library? Or did I destroy that?
Wasn't him who wrote a story about our library? Lamin Njie, always controversial, huh?
Yes.
So our library, this is a desire. It was never part of my plans, but it's just, you know, one time I went to Madison City Council, and this is the benefits of doing sister city relationships. And, you know, we took a tour of the central library, and, you know, I felt so sad. I said, man, I don't have a central library I can show off. Like,
and I want this in mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I wish, because you saw the children, the students, and, you know, the library was so multifunctional in the sense even people doing virtual reality, gaming, people doing dance, people doing arts, meaning arts and crafts. They all have a section in the library, you know. That library is so advanced, they do weddings there. And they rent out the space as wedding space. Although when they asked me, I said, I don't think we want Benachin and Super in our library. But I was so envious. So I came back and, you know, I made a bold declaration. We are going to build a library and we are going to look for the resources. But just in the height of it, COVID came, things went upside down, but it's still an ambition. I have a list I look at every morning. It's called Mayor's Ambitions. And municipal library.
Or to-do list, if you like.
Yes, to-do list. So municipal library is there. And now we're saying, okay, look, we have to be realistic. We wanted to raise money through donors, grants. 3.5 million is a tall order. How about now we bring down the cost of the library within a budget amount that we can actually construct as a council. So that is something I'm in discussions with the directors and see maybe a $20 million library, $500,000 or something that will at least be the first of KMC's municipal libraries, and hopefully over time we build a network. And hopefully over time we have enough money to build the big central library somewhere where we can have students go read. Now, I know there was a lot of funny stories and comments when I said, oh, some students read it. So this is info I got from actual students. That look, during our exams when there was no light, I would actually go read under a street light. Now, we've also had comments where when there's no light, Sunday la ñoo use or dañoo génn si mbedd bi pour profit si street light. I don't think it was meant to say that all students do that.
Not at all.
It was just to show that we don't have safe study spaces. And it's an embarrassment for KM if students in KM, which is supposed to be the most developed municipality in Gambia, to say that, look, we even have to struggle to read. And we know education is the foundation of every nation.
Mayor?
Yeah.
I've taken a lot of your time.
We can keep talking. I enjoy you.
I think we'll leave it here.
Okay.
We will hold another interview as we move closer to the election. But
I hope you won't go and say, Mayor Bensouda declares.
Well, I know people ask you. I know people ask you, oh, Mayor, when are you planning to run for president? But it would appear that we've gone past that. Dabo clearly is running.
Now I have peace.
Now you have peace. Yeah. No journalist would ask you that. But thank you once again for your time. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was the mayor of the KM, Talib Ahmed Bensouda, speaking to me there. Thank you. Until